Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Jalen. Hello if you're new here. My son is asleep, so I'm in the living room. I have no idea what the audio is going to sound like. And my dogs are right here, so I am sorry. I have been trying to film this video for like 4 days and just have not been able to. So I'm sure based on the title, most of you probably already know this story. Most of the United States and in other countries has heard this story. You've probably heard it all or at least seen about it. The Gabby Petito case, which is obviously still ongoing. There's been some like new updates in the last few days, and originally I was going to make like a full-on video of the timeline and everything that's happened up until now, but there's like a lot going on currently, so I'm just going to do like a quick overview of the case and everything that's happened so far, and then talk about the updates and everything that's happening right now, because there's been so many videos done already about the entire timeline. There's some really good videos on it that I will put in the description, but I just felt really compelled to talk about this. It has been like my life has revolved around this basically every day. I'm like checking tweets and Facebook, and I'm in a bunch of groups just trying to see what's happening. But we'll get to why I'm so like what's going on at the end. So yeah. So Gabby Petito, a 22-year-old blonde hair, blue-eyed, 5'5", 110-pound girl, she wanted to be a vlogger. You know, kind of doing what I'm doing right now, except for van life. So, you know, take a van, convert it to something you can sleep in, and then travel and film, you know, your excursions, what you're doing. Her boyfriend, Brian Laundrie, went with her, and he's 23 years old, and they went on this journey together. They left Florida. They were both living with Brian, her boyfriend's parents. She had been living with them for like a year and a half. Her parents live in New York, and they're both from there too, and they decided like, let's go together, which makes perfect sense, because if I were to go tomorrow on a van trip, which I could not because I am pregnant and have a 4-year-old, I definitely would take my husband with me. So it just was like something fun and exciting that she wanted to do, something that she, like a direction she wanted to take her life. So they start traveling. They go through Kansas, Colorado Springs, Utah, just making their way through the country, filming it. Some of the footage is actually on their YouTube channel, which I will put somewhere on the screen if you're interested in going to find and watching the video. You know, it's really sad to watch it now. But anyway, so they're traveling, and everything from the outside seems, you know, normal and fine until August 12th, when 911 gets a phone call from some witnesses saying that there is a domestic dispute and that police need to come check it out. And the witness was calling about Gabby and her boyfriend Brian.
Grant County Sheriff's Office.
Were you able to get a description of the intoxication?
Hi, can you hear me, sir?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Hi, I'm calling. I'm right on the corner of Main Street by Moonflower, and we're driving by, and I'd like to report a domestic dispute. Florida with a white van, Florida license plate, white van, gentleman,
Where's it at?
5'6" beard. They just drove off. They're going down Main Street. They made a right onto Main Street from Moonflower.
Or what were they doing?
Cooperative, but what'd you say?
What were they doing?
We drove by, and the gentleman was slapping the girl.
He was slapping her?
Yes, and then we stopped. They ran up and down the sidewalk. He proceeded to hit her, hopped in the car, and they drove off.
Okay, you said it's a white van?
White van. I can give you the license plate if you give me 1 sec. I took a picture of it.
What kind of white van? Like a big one?
It was a smaller van with the license plate of, it was white, Florida license plate. It was, the make was a Ford, model was Transit, black ladder on the passenger side.
Black ladder, passenger side.
White Ford Transit.
White Ford Transit.
The dispatcher relayed the message from the witness that said that Brian was smacking, you know, or pushing away Gabby and was physical with her. And the police were told this, but I guess it was kind of ignored at the time.
So CPA, do you have a phone number for the RP? Maybe you're still landline, and a location where our victim's at?
Phone number is, name's, I'm not sure where it's at, but the female who got hit, they both, the male and the female, both got into the van and headed north. Continuing, attempt to locate, time lapse of about probably 40 seconds. RP states seen a male hit a female domestic. He got into a white Ford Transit van, has a black ladder on the back, Florida plate of. The van turned right onto Main Street from Moonflower Market and headed north onto Main Street, 1638.
And at the scene, Brian had scratches on his face, and Gabby admitted to being, you know, the aggressor in the situation.
Going and get our day going because we want to go like arches before this other time.
Okay. You want to tell me about those scratches on your face?
She had a cell phone in her hand. That's why I was pushing her away, because she wanted I locked the keys so I could walk away. I said, let's just take a breather and let's not, go anywhere. Let's just calm down for a minute because she was getting a little worked up. And then she had her phone and was trying to get the keys from me, so I got in the way. I was just trying to, I know I shouldn't push, but I was just trying to push her away to go, let's just take a minute, step back and breathe. And she got me with her phone.
Can I see your hand?
And that, she was just really overwhelmed. You can see her in the video. She's crying. She's obviously really upset. And to the police, this just seemed like a situation of two people stuck in a van together who are getting annoyed with each other and had a lover's quarrel. Is that the word for it? Like, just, people were just, they're stuck in this van. They're overwhelmed. Like, do we really want to put these young kids in jail and possibly make their lives 10 times harder?
He never saw the male strike the female. He saw the male trying to lock her out of the vehicle. She even told us that he was trying to lock her out, told her to go take a walk, so that she was trying to get in. She eventually couldn't get in and actually clawed her way in through the driver's door. He says, I don't understand why she's doing that. Well, I think it's because it was the only door that wasn't locked that she could get through. So she's trying to get in over him. He's trying to disengage from her. I guess he hung her backpack on the back probably so she'd have her shit, so that he didn't have to engage with her. Everything she's saying is the same thing. I haven't heard what he said, but if that's what he said, it's also what the witness is saying. The witness says, I never saw him hit her. I saw him shove her, but I couldn't tell if it was an aggression against her or a defense against her, as far as her, being the aggressor. So at this point, unless the guy's screaming that he needs to go to jail and did something to this girl, it sounds to me like she is the primary aggressor.
Yeah.
Now, the problem with her being the primary aggressor is in an instance of domestic assault, be it a male or be it a female, we shall arrest. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean they have to go to jail. We can do a citation if it meets one of three criterion, which one of them is that we can ensure that they're not going to further risk each other's safety. But the problem with that is they live in the same vehicle.
That's what I was going to say. The other part of it is
there was actually an injury too to the victim, which is him.
Right, and I'm getting conflicting stories about why they hit the curb up here.
What did he say why he hit the curb?
Well, I've watched, this is what I saw first. Saw him cross the double yellow. I was doing 42 miles an hour. I was, probably 2 car lengths behind him, tapping my whales at him, trying to get his attention. They knew I was behind him. And then after he crossed the double yellow, he merged over into the right lane, and then out of nowhere, just boom, went and hit the curb.
So did he tell you why?
He said that she grabbed the wheel and turned it real hard. She said that she was hitting him in the arm. So
sounds legit. I mean, I'm sure if I'm driving and my arm's on the wheel and I'm getting hit in the arm, I'm probably pulling out the wheel.
Yeah.
And I'm sure it was a little of both. I mean, usually the truth is somewhere in between. He's probably trying not to say that he hit her because he probably doesn't want her charged with assault, domestic assault. He probably would rather say she pulled the wheel than hit him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So, unfortunately for her, we cannot treat, just because he's bigger and stronger, and even if he's not willing to press charges, we can't treat this differently than if it was a male on female violence.
And I understand why the police felt the way they did and why they handled it the way they did. But obviously, looking back now, police really do need better training when it comes to domestic violence situations. What they decided to do was separate them for the night. So Gabby got to stay in the van by herself, and Brian, they got him a hotel room, which they paid for, because he was the victim, and they separated them for the night. They were like, take your space, relax, chill out, be by yourselves, and then you can come back together tomorrow. I would like to say, had the police arrested one of them, and I do believe that if they had, it would have been Gabby based on the information that they were hearing from the two. Had they arrested Gabby, Gabby would have been brought to jail, arrested, and I believe what would have happened is her parents would have came and gotten her and took her back home, and then, you know, that whenever stuff like this happens, there's a 30-day no contact order. Sometimes it's longer. So then Gabby would have not been able to talk to the victim. That's not what I'm saying, but as far as this situation would have went, and they would not have been able to have contact with each other, and maybe she would have been alive. And I know should have, could have, would have, it's dumb to think about, but had that happened, the situation would have been totally different. Or if they had arrested Brian, and had they arrested one of them, I feel like this whole thing would have never became what it is right now. So Gabby was in constant contact with her mom, like the entire trip. She would give her mom the itinerary, basically what they were doing, where they were going, what's happening, updates, just FaceTiming, texting, calls. She stayed in really good contact with her mom, and they talked on the 24th. There's like mixed reports, so I don't know if they FaceTimed on the 24th or FaceTimed on the 25th, but one of those days they had a FaceTime, and then the other day, whichever one wasn't the FaceTime call, they were texting and talking to each other still. And her mom said that FaceTime call was totally normal, nothing out of the ordinary, everything seemed fine, and just that they were going to the Grand Teton National Park, and that was their next thing that they were doing, and nothing seemed out of the ordinary. Now on August 26th, a man claims that he saw Brian alone in a bar, and I will try to re-find that clip. They keep getting taken down and put back up, so I'll see if I can find it to include it here. But a man claims he had like an interaction with Brian at the bar, and he was alone and seemed very irritated.
This is in regards to the Brian Laundrie and Gabby, the missing girl. I had taken a trip the end of August from Louisiana up through Colorado and Montana and Wyoming. I picked a friend up at the Jackson Hole Airport on August 26th, Thursday, that morning. And we went through Jackson Hole. Then we went through the Tetons and Yellowstone. We came out the West Gate, and we stayed at West Yellowstone, Montana for the evening. We went out to a restaurant that night called Bullwinkle's, and about 10 o'clock we moved into the bar. There was us and another couple that we had met while we were eating dinner. We were discussing things, politics, guns, hunting, you know, all the stuff you don't talk about in a bar. And there was a guy at the end of the bar that was just quiet. He was visibly bothered or mad, it looked like, when we came in. And I guess our conversation just kind of irritated that fact when he finally made a comment, something about stupid Southerners and Republicans. And I kind of laughed and said, well, where are you from? And he said that he was from New York in a pretty strong New York accent. And said his name was Brian. And I said, well, as we laughed, I said, well, you know, you picked an odd place, the middle of nowhere, a small town in Montana. What did you expect, that you weren't going to run into any conservatives or Republicans? Anyway, not much else was said. He made a couple of remarks, and we went back to our conversation. It was just a creepy encounter. It was one of those situations where it was kind of one of those people, it was almost like he looked through you. I didn't notice him using a phone, things that the FBI have asked. We did notice that he had a backpack. We left about 11:50, and he was still there. My friend was visibly uncomfortable. She even made a comment on the way to the car about serial killers and kept watching behind us to make sure he wasn't following us. And I assured her that you know, it wasn't an issue. I mean, I'm concealed carry. I was actually armed when we were in the bar. And we went to the hotel. We did talk about it on the way home. It was odd. In the last few days, though, we've watched the news and realized that was the guy. That was Brian, this girl's fiance. So we contacted the FBI. Both of us made reports to the FBI, and just kind of watching the news now and seeing where it goes. But that was our encounter.
On August 27th, two YouTubers, a couple. I forget, it's like Red, White, and something. I'll put their name on the screen somewhere, but they were looking through their footage later. So the date that this had happened was August 27th. They found the footage later on, but I'm going to talk as if that day, okay? So the YouTubers were filming on their GoPro. They also do like van travel life type stuff. And in their footage on that day is the van, Gabby's van, and no one seems to be inside of it. Some people say if you slow it down you can see a door close, and people say they see Brian over in the field. He's not in the field. But anyway, so they saw the footage of the van by itself alone. On August 29th, I don't know if they're really TikTokers or people who just post on TikTok. They posted a video saying that Brian hitchhiked with them, and they described that situation, and I again will try to find that clip for you guys and put it in right here.
Hi, my name is Miranda Baker, and on August 29th, my boyfriend and I picked up Brian at Grand Teton National Park at 5:30 at night at Coulter Bay. I'm hoping this can help someone identify him because I saw him from TikTok, which then made me call the authorities, and my boyfriend and I have been in contact with a bunch of different people to help piece together different parts of this case. But we picked him up at Coulter Bay, like I said, at 5:30. He approached us asking us for a ride because he needed to go to Jackson, which we were going to Jackson that night. So I said, hop in. He hopped in the back of my Jeep. We then, proceeded to make small talk, but before he came in the car, he offered to pay us like $200 to give him a ride, like 10 miles. So that was kind of weird. He then told us he's been camping for multiple days without his fiance. He did say he had a fiance, and that she was working on their social media page back at their van. Then once, in conversation, I brought up, we're going to Jackson. He freaked out. He's like, nope, I need to get out right now. Pull over. So we pulled over at the Jackson Dam, which I don't know if you know, Teton Park, but it's not very far from Coulter Bay. And if this does, reach people, I can post pictures of, exactly where we were. We picked him up and the whole route or whatever, and screenshots of the timestamps. We dropped him off at 6:09 p.m. on August 29th. He kind of hurried out of the car, and then he's like, okay, I'm just gonna go find someone else to, hitchhike. And we're like, okay. It was a weird situation. So when we picked him up, he was wearing a backpack, he had a long sleeve pants, hiking boots, and he had scruff, but he didn't look dirty. For someone who was camping for multiple days, he didn't look dirty, he didn't smell dirty, so that part was kind of weird. And I'm just really hoping that they find her, and this helps someone remember seeing him, or something like that.
On August 30th, Gabby sends her mom a text that says no service in Yosemite. I always say that wrong. But what was weird about that was that Yosemite was extremely far away from where they had said they were going to be. So her mom was confused, and now at this current moment does not believe that Gabby sent that text, which we will go into more later. But at the time she thought, maybe it was an error, maybe that she's typing really quickly and that's just, what got typed out, or she just was confused or whatever. But that's not where they were supposed to be. On September 1st, Brian goes back to Florida to his parents' home alone. Gabby is not with him. He is by himself. Her mom hasn't heard from her, actually known that she was talking to her since the August 25th FaceTime call, or August 24th, but they were speaking on the 25th as well. So her mom has had no contact with her. Her parents are worried, and now the van is back in Florida. Her parents try making contact with Brian's parents, with Brian. They're not talking to them. They won't tell them what's going on. They're concerned. And then finally on 9/11, they call the police, and they're like, where the hell is our daughter? We need help. And so then the police go to the Laundrie's home. He was home with his parents and an attorney, and basically evoked their right to remain silent and will not talk to Gabby's family, will not speak with the police, no interest of helping Gabby's parents find their daughter at all. On September 19th, they found Gabby's body, which obviously is an awful thing, but I think it's also a good thing because at least her parents know where she is, even if it's not in the way that they wanted. It makes me really sad. She was found. We have her body now. And that's going to get us one step closer to figuring out what happened. So now I'm going to go into kind of like the new stuff, the new updates, things that should have been put in the timeline I already went through, but that we didn't know until now. But I want it to be like its own thing because these are newer updates. So that's basically what's happened so far. There's so much more detail into that, little tiny important things that I feel like people, you might want to know. I don't think it's the most relevant thing, but you know, any little tiny thing could add up to something else. So if you're interested in that kind of stuff, like I said, I'll put like a more you know, deeper dive into the timeline and everything that's happened so far. But that is basically it. And then now we're going to get into now I am not sure of the validity of this because I've only seen it on 2 different news sources, and another YouTuber covered it, and the news sources are iffy. I don't know to believe them or not. So but this has been talked about everywhere. Gabby's uncle posted a picture, and I will try to find that screenshot again to put on the screen, of his own handwriting where he wrote out like a timeline, like a mini timeline, just to give people an idea of like where like he would have been, what to look for. Look at your pictures, your phone, you know, did you see this guy? Trying to help people. And he claims that from August 17th to August 23rd, Brian had came home. He came back to Florida to I guess move storage, unload storage with his dad, and apparently it was like Gabby's and his stuff. So I don't know why he would have left Gabby like thousands of miles away to come fly home to unload storage. Like, I don't understand like what happened there. But that is something that's being claimed to have been said. But now let's get into more, you know, valid sources. So, Dog the Bounty Hunter. If you are my age, you may or may not have heard of him. My parents used to watch the show. I've seen it, but I was really young. But he is a bounty hunter, like his name would suggest. He's caught like over 10,000 different fugitives, and I just want to say, like, we can discuss all day what you think his motives are, but at the end of the day, he has caught so many people, and it doesn't hurt to have more help. Like, I don't see any harm in it. And people are more likely to call dog than they are the police, in my opinion, especially if you have a reason that you don't want to speak to the police. People are way more likely to call someone who literally does not care who you are than they are to call the police. So I feel like that definitely gives him an edge, and I don't think people really consider that. But anyway, so he's gotten involved, and he's doing like his own separate searches. I know he gets the police involved when he gets like a lead and he goes and searches, but he started his own like whole search thing, and he discovered that, so the Laundrie family had reservations to a campground from the 1st to the 3rd of September. And then it's believed that they stayed there during that time, but their attorney, Brian's attorney, claims that they didn't, but that they canceled those reservations, and then they went back to or they didn't go back, but they actually went to the campground from September 6th to September 8th. And I will read you guys what the attorney said about this. Okay, so the attorney said, dog doesn't know what he's talking about. The family had reservations 1 through 3 and canceled them and did not go to the park during the weekend. They did go as a family 6 and 7, which it said on their reservations that they were there till the 8th, but the attorney says 6 through 7, and all left together despite claims that they didn't. The following weekend, they all 3 went to places on different dates that the FBI is aware of, and that dog is baloney. He said the dog is spilling baloney, and there was a huge debate because everyone was like, he spelled baloney wrong, but he actually spelled it right for the context. But a lawyer using the word baloney, I feel like it's kind of interesting. So yeah, and the lawyer texted this to a news person, and apparently it's definitely legit. She's like someone the news trusted to like use that source originally, and then it came out that that definitely was his attorney. So yeah, so that was weird. And then there was something else. Oh, they said, the person asked, the lady said, 9/1 through Tuesday 9/14 was Brian home? Like, was he ever home? And then she said, did he ever leave to camp during those dates? And the lawyer said, I can confirm he was staying home with his parents during those dates, including stores, parks, and campgrounds. So, okay, that's what the attorney had to say. And I will post those screenshots. But yeah, so he was definitely at the campground, and some people are saying that he went, you know, from 9/6 to 9/8, but that he never returned back with his parents, which I think could totally be likely, because do we have any picture proof evidence of him ever coming back to Florida after those dates? Because I haven't seen any. So there's no telling if they, you know, helped him get away, or, you know, I can make guesses all day. I guess it really doesn't matter what I think, but yeah, weird. Then the last thing that I saw for an update is that the Moab, I keep wanting to call it Moab, the Moab police chief is taking a leave of absence while the Gabby Petito domestic violence situation is investigated, because people think that he handled, or that, you know, the officers handled the situation wrong, and that, you know, something else should have been done, and had they done something different, things would be different now. You know, I feel like we can't put all the blame on the police. You know, they did the best they could with the information they had and with the training they have. So if we really want to be upset, it needs to be the fact that they're not trained differently. Because they tried to do what they thought was best and help those kids. And I'm like their age and I'm calling kids, but you know what I mean? Like, they tried to do what they thought would be most beneficial for them, and I don't fault them for that. It has also now been released that the dog has found a monster can supposedly belonging to Brian, as well as a pair of flip-flops. I don't know why they think it's his, but apparently they do. But so yeah, that is basically everything that has happened so far. I really don't want to do like 20 different videos on this subject, so hopefully the next video I do is that Brian is found. We have no idea where he is. I did see that apparently he bought a burner phone, which I don't doubt. I mean, I don't see how he could be surviving without some sort of help. I see a lot of people saying his parents should be like arrested, or you know, they need to be brought into the police, blah, blah, blah. His parents, so far, have not broken any laws. Even if they bought him the burner phone, at the time he wasn't wanted. He didn't have a warrant out for his arrest. The warrant he does have out for his arrest is for credit card fraud. It's not for murder. So his parents really haven't broken any laws. And I know it's annoying, and I know people really wish his parents would help, but legally they have not done anything wrong, and they're revoking their right to remain silent, which is probably what is best as far as they go. But you know, it's really not, it's not fair. It's sad. But anyway, yeah, so that is everything that has happened. If there's anything else you'd like to add in the comments, let me know. I know this wasn't completely in-depth. I plan when all this is over to make a full-on in-depth video of everything, but this is what we have so far. So I hope you enjoyed the video, and I will see you in the next one. Bye!